You're going to use the chat to send your questions directly to Andrea. So you'll see several hosts there listed in the chat. And you want to make sure that you're selecting Andrea to send your questions to. And interpretation is provided, so let us know 1 week in advance if you need language services. We're going to assume that all participants come today with positive intent. And then lastly, just be comfortable with being uncomfortable. A lot of times when we're uncomfortable, that's the time when we can experience growth. So we want to all agree that we're going to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Our agenda for today, we're going to do some brief introductions and an overview of the Parent Advisory Council. We'll do a community builder so you all can get to know each other just a little bit more. We'll talk about return to in-person school plans. We have 3 amazing principals with us today that have taken the time out of their busy schedule to give you all a perspective on return to school and give you some tips on what you might need to know. And then we're going to have a breakout room session to develop questions, and we'll get to ask our top 3 questions to our communications team here. And then we'll do a reflection, and finally we'll have announcements. So just some quick introductions to who we are. I am Lindsay Bale. I'm the supervisor of student assignment. I'm on the parent and family, the family and community engagement team. We call that FACE here with the district. And so I'm helping out today. Normally your host is Crystal Hawkins, who's also on here. And so if you need to speak to Crystal, you should be able to chat with her as well. We have our NCFL partners, and so we're so grateful to have NCFL as partners with us in this work. So you'll see Andrea, Cindy, Angel, Becky, and Melissa on here. And so they are awesome helpers and partners with us here. We're so grateful for our parent leaders that are helping us today. We have Epiphany Magruder from Portland Elementary. We have Owen Sitgraves from Brandeis Elementary, and we have Rhea Chandler from Wagner High School. So those are our superstar parents, and we're so thankful for you being here to lead with us today. So what is the Parent Advisory Council? The JCPS district-wide Parent Advisory Council is an opportunity for building community. It's also an opportunity for you to receive information and resources from the district, and then also to share out information and resources with other families and community partners. We realize that our parents and community partners are experts in a lot of areas that we are not. And so this is an opportunity for us to all come together to both receive and share information. And so what I want you to do for just a minute is think about what is your intention for today. So what is something that you want to focus on specifically for today? It can be something like you just want to be present. I know we've all been doing so much during this time and been stretched thin. And so maybe your intention is just to take this time for you to be present. Maybe your intention is to get some information that you can share with family or friends. So just take a second to think about what is your intention for today. Okay, so now we're going to take just a few minutes to get to know each other. You're going to be moved to a breakout room. And so in the breakout room, we want you to share the following. We would like you to share your name, what school your children attend or where you volunteer your time. What is one reason why you want your child to return to in-person school? So what is something over this past year that you've really been thinking about and a reason you want your child to return? And then what is one positive thing about NTI that you would like to see continue? So there are some things that have come out of NTI that are wonderful and that children have really thrived with. And so what is something positive you've seen that you would like to see continue? So we are going to go ahead and move you to the breakout rooms and give you a chance to just get to know each other a little bit.
Thanks, Lindsay. People will have about 10 minutes in breakout rooms. When your time is almost up, it'll start counting down. So we are moving everyone to breakout rooms now.
So there's a form. If you go to our main JCPS webpage, you'll see it on there where it says make your selection for in-person or virtual. If you've already made your selection and you changed your mind, you can go back in and you can make a new selection. So just make sure if you haven't done that yet that you go in today and do that for us so we know what to expect. This is a great resource for you. This is our district portal, and this is where you can find information about your specific schools. Every school has their own specific plan. And so if you go to the district portal here, you'll search your school. You see it's separated by elementary, middle, high, and early childhood. And so you can select your school and you can see what your school's specific in-person learning plan is. And then there at the bottom, you see there is a link to how many families selected in person or virtual at your school. So if you're curious about how many students are returning, how many are staying online, you can click that. It's a really cool kind of interactive graphic that you can look at there. All right, so hopefully that video helped you with the schedule, just to visually see what the schedules will look like. Now we're going to turn it over to our awesome communications team. So we have Renee Murphy and Sarah Wagner here from our communications department. They've been working round the clock to make sure that parents are informed and know what to expect. And so they're here today to answer some of your questions. And we just really appreciate you all being here with us today and being available to help us get some of the back to school facts.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, my name's Renee Murphy, and I'm joined by Sarah Wagner, who is on our team. And yes, we are hard at work right now. We are in countdown mode to the first day of school in over a year. Our first day of school will begin on March 17th. We kind of have a rolling opening. So we'll have some of our youngest learners coming back on Wednesday for in-person learning. So this is an exciting time, a historic day really for this district. And we're trying to make sure that all of our community members, stakeholders, parents, families have all the information about the return to school plan. So we want to let you know that all of our schools will operate on a hybrid schedule. So I hope that video was helpful to you to see what that hybrid schedule is going to look like. And so that's for kindergarten, actually early childhood all the way through 12th grade will operate on that hybrid schedule, meaning you'll have 2 days of in-person learning, and then there will be 3 days of virtual learning. Now, we should say there's still the full virtual option for families. So we really want this to be a family's choice. You can decide. We understand there's a lot going on right now. So if you want to come back in person 2 days a week, we'd love to see you. If you'd like to continue learning virtually 5 days a week, that will still be available for all students in early childhood through 12th grade. And all children from the same household can attend school on the same day. So what we've been able to do here over the past couple of days, we've actually had a hotline set up for families. We've sent some information directly to them. But if you're watching and you have a family with students with multiple last names in a household, and you'd like them to all go to school on the same day, if their last name, first initial, if they fall in two different groups, they can call 313-CARE. Excuse me, I think I have to sneeze. Maybe not. It's like allergy time here, so I always feel like I might have to sneeze just a little bit. But if you do know of a family, or if you are a family and you'd like to schedule all of your students to have in-person learning on the same day, you can call 313-CARE. That line is open through 5 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll be able to help hundreds of families. If you still need assistance, you can call 313-CARE now, and we will have representatives standing by to take those calls until 5 o'clock this afternoon. As you heard her say too, we want you to go ahead and make your selection for how you'd like to continue learning. The great thing is over the past couple of weeks, we have just about all of our kids have selected a preference. We still have a few that have not. So if you have not made your selection yet, please go ahead and do so. As we plan and we get closer to Wednesday, as we get closer to the first day for middle and high school, which will be April 5th, we really need that information. Some meals will also be provided to all students. So whether you're learning virtually or in person, when you have the virtual days, the 3 days a week, we will be providing meals for our families like we have been throughout this time. We've served millions of meals over the past year, which we're really excited about, and we'll continue to have that flexibility and that option for families. Transportation will be provided for students who are coming back to school in person. So our buses will be out there. You've probably seen them already practicing out there. I saw some the other day, and it was really exciting to see the buses back out there. So transportation will be provided for our families. In fact, our bus finder on our website has now launched. So if you want to find your student's bus number, the bus stop, and the time that it's going to pick up, that information is on our website now. If you go to jefferson.kyschools.us, and in the search bar, just search bus finder, and you'll be able to look up that information. We're having some internet issues right now. So if you check throughout the day and for some reason our website may not be up and running at that moment, it's kind of going in and out today. They're working on some things, but we'll have it back and up and running, fully operational here very soon. Each school will have a Healthy at School officer, and that Healthy at School officer is the person who will be able to capture information about a student if they have to quarantine, if they've been exposed to COVID. And so that Healthy at School officer is designated by the school. Schools will be contacting families to let you know who that person is and how you can reach out to them. And we also have information available on our website about contact tracing. That's been a big question. And so if you go to our Back to School webpage that we have, I think that may have been in the chat there. We have a new document out that's on that webpage right now that outlines the process for contact tracing. It really is going to be unique depending on the circumstance, but there's some more guidance that's available for families there online. And each school is following the Healthy at School guidance that's been established by the Kentucky Department of Education. So this is kind of the flagship document that all schools across the state are following. And this information really lays out all the safety measures, the procedures, the protocols that we have to follow. And that information is also available on our webpage as well. So the information about wearing masks, social distancing, the sanitization, the isolation of sick students, all that information is in that guidance that we are following right now. So that is available to you if you'd like to read that information. One of the biggest things we want to stress to our families is that we've been planning for this moment. We've been planning for this day. And so our teams have been working diligently to make sure that we can have a safe reopening. And that's where we are right now. So we're excited to see students in person. We're excited for students who are continuing to learn virtually. I have 3 kids, and my one child is thriving in the online setting, and my one child can't wait to go back to school. So I'm glad we still have choices and options for families to be able to make the decision for what works best for them for the remainder of the school year. So that's kind of the high-level nickel tour of going back to school. I know you guys are going to break out into some sessions, and we'll be available to answer more questions for you about what it's going to be like when we return in person and what the virtual learning experience will continue to be like.
Thank you, Renee. So that was a really great overview, and you will have an opportunity to ask some more questions here in just a little bit. But first, we want to hear from some of our amazing principals. We are so thankful that our principals are able to join us today. They have been working so hard 24/7 to get their buildings prepared for the return of students. And I know this is something that they've been looking forward to probably for the past year. And so we want to welcome them and thank them for sharing their time with us. We have Principal Kim Rice from Shawnee High School, the Academy at Shawnee. And we have Dr. Denise Franklin Williams, Principal of Carruthers Middle School, and Dr. Tiffany Marshall, Principal of Jefferson County Traditional Middle School. Now, what we want to say about this is that they're going to share some tips with you. So what are 3 things that they believe that you should know as families for returning to school? But they are specifically in charge of their schools. So their plan for Academy at Shawnee, Carruthers, JCTMS, and your school will have its own individual plan. So as far as individual plans, you'll want to visit that district portal, contact your school, but they do have some valuable information for us just about working in partnership with our schools as we return. So we will start with Principal Rice from Academy at Shawnee to share with us her top 3 tips for working with schools as we return. And thank you, Principal Rice, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I always look at the number of people that are participating, and I'm very excited to know that we have such a large number of parents that are wanting to work with our district and find out how you can best support your child. So thank you so very much. Thank you for having me here. Yes, this is a busy time for principals, a busy time for school leadership, for the district leadership. It has been a lot of work. In fact, I work 26 hours out of the day. I don't know where I find those other hours, but just trying to get everything settled so we can get our kids back. It's hard to believe that a year ago today, we were getting these emails saying, hey, we're going to be out of school for a while. I thought it was going to be a couple of days. Who knew it was going to end up being a whole year? So through this experience, we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about being a school leader. I've learned a lot about being a parent, not a parent of someone in school, but just being a parent and how to help parents best meet the needs of their child. So this is the PAC, right? Am I correct that this is the PAC, the Parent Advisory Council?
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay, so my 3 tips are going to reverse those letters, and I'm going to make it the CAP. So my tips are, it is a change. So we know that we have been through this pandemic that has made us look at things differently. And so we've had to change the way we do things, our practices about going out to eat, about how we actually did work. I had to learn how to work at home. I never thought I would have to learn how to work at home, but there were some times where I just stayed home. So I had to learn how to adjust my schedule and work at home. So that's our C. It's a change. And one of the things I always say is change is inevitable. Growth is optional. So if there hasn't been a growth during this time, then we didn't take full advantage of the change that happened. So be patient with us. It's a change. I'm giving you all my words here. So it's a change. It's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be an adjustment for your child having to get up and be up earlier than normal. For instance, at Shawnee, we didn't start at 7:40. We didn't get our kids on until 9:50 every day. So we've told our kids, hey, you're gonna have to get up early because school starts at 7:40 when we go back in person. And that will be for our students who choose to remain virtually and our students who come back to the building. So we're gonna have to all make those adjustments. There's gonna be the adjustment of getting on a bus, practicing those social distancing things with other people that you haven't been around with. It's going to be an adjustment for our staff members as well to interact with kids that we've only seen virtually in the virtual setting. So we're all going to have to adjust. But while we're doing those changes and making those adjustments, we have to practice a lot of patience. And so I ask that you please be patient. As Renee spoke about earlier, we've been planning this for a while, but we're going to be putting it into practice. And there's going to be some things that we might just mess up on, but we're going to make sure that we practice those things and get them together so that we can improve and make it so that it's a better experience for all of us involved. See, I don't have to just deal with, or you don't have to just deal with your child. I have to deal with your child, my staff members, I have to deal with bus drivers, my own self coming in. So we're going to ask, and I'm going to ask for a lot of patience on your part. Please let us know how we can make it better, and know that we are doing our best. We have put what we think are the best plans in place for our schools. Also during this pandemic and bringing kids back, we are undergoing a $40 million renovation. So that has been very trying to make sure that we have our routes and our social distancing activities set up in the right manner, and dealing with construction and renovation of the building. So please, it's going to be change, make the adjustments, and have a lot of patience. So those are my 3 pointers. I'll turn it over, or I am happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Thank you so much, Principal Rice. I love that there. So change, adjustment, and patience. So no matter which school your child goes to, those are 3 things that you can keep in mind as they return. And we just thank you again for your time, and thank you for working so hard to get our children back and get them back safely. And hopefully you're getting some sleep in there. And Miss Principal Rice, I'll shout out her dad. He is the man at the academy at Shawnee. He painted my office when I was over there in the I was in the school, on the community school on the side. So yeah, he painted my office over there. So he takes care of us. So you have to tell him I said hello.
I will. Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you so much for all your hard work. If anybody has any specific questions for Principal Rice, feel free to send them to us in the chat, and we will ask them. You can send them directly to Andrea, and we will ask those of her. I think that as we heard, our principals are working so hard around the clock. And so Dr. Franklin Williams and Dr. Marshall are not here at the moment, but if they're able to join us, we'll come back to them. We're going to go ahead and move forward with our questions. And then if anybody again has questions for Principal Rice, and she's willing to hang out for a minute, send those our way. Okay, thank you so much.
I will stay. I'll hang out for a bit if there are questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we appreciate all the work that all of our principals and teachers are doing to get ready, and we want to make sure that we are answering all the families' questions. So now is the chance. We're going to go into another breakout session and focus on generating and digging deep by learning how to ask questions with each other. So I was inspired by Sadiqa Reynolds from the Louisville Urban League, who said that the challenge with becoming involved sometimes is that you don't know what questions to ask. So hopefully by asking each other questions, we will generate more and more information and questions about further things that we need to know to help make this transition successful for our families and our children. So we're going to use something called the question formulation technique. And it's very, very simple. When we go into breakout rooms, there's going to be a facilitator and a note taker in each of the rooms. So it's a 3-step process. The first step is your group will pick which question you're most interested in talking about. It's going to be a simple vote and majority wins. Do you want to discuss your questions about safety measures of returning to in-person school? Or do you want to discuss your questions about what in-person teaching and learning will look like for your child? So both of these are very important, but because of time, we want your group to decide on one of these 2 questions that you want to focus on. And then you will move into your brainstorming session, where your group will quickly state your question about safety measures, or state your questions about teaching and learning, whatever you all decide to pick. And your note taker will write down all these questions that you ask. And So the key is that we're not going to discuss the questions or try to answer the questions at this point. We're just trying to get everybody's questions out and recorded. And then once we leave the breakout session, we'll come back and our wonderful district officials that are joining us today will begin to answer as many questions as we can today. And the questions that we can't answer, we're going to put into a frequently asked question document that can be accessed by you. So once you brainstorm these questions, the last step is to move to your group selecting what your 3 most important questions are. So every person will be able to select their 3 most important questions, and then those will be what's presented back to the main group. All right, everybody. I think, Becky, we're going to move into the breakout rooms.
Thanks, Cindy. Folks, we will have about 15 minutes in breakout rooms, so hopefully plenty of time to generate questions and vote. I will send messages in just to keep you appraised of how much time you have left.
Okay, welcome back. Looks like everybody is back. So hopefully you all had a great discussion about some questions that you have. We're going to take some time now to talk to Renee and Sarah with some of your top 3 questions. The other questions we are going to utilize to create an FAQ. And so we're really thankful for your assistance in creating that and coming up with some commonly asked questions for families. But we'll start with a couple of questions for Renee and Sarah. So let's see here. Our first question is, what will the procedure be for those who test positive in the classroom?
So we do have a process in place. If a child is ill at school, there will be a designated area that the student will go to. A family member will be contacted. And then that student, we will encourage, if they're showing symptoms of that, a student could be tested at school by one of our nurses or medical professionals that will be at school, or they could be tested later with their family if the family wanted to take them somewhere else for COVID testing. And there's a procedure that goes from there with contact tracing. Each school has a Healthy at School officer, and so there is a person that will kind of capture all the information that will work with health services and the medical professional that will be at schools to determine who the student, if they had close contact with someone, if there is need for anyone else to be quarantined, and there is a process. And we have posted that information on our website right now. If you go to our Back to School page, what parents and families need to know. If you go to our homepage, we do have a new document that's available online that outlines several scenarios. If there is a child that's tested positive, if there is a child that's been exposed, if there is a child that's sick at school, and exactly how that works. We had some information available in some of our other documents as well, but we've added some more detail, and we've outlined that process to provide families another layer of information about exactly what will happen. There will be communication shared with families, so we will have letters shared if there is a need for families to quarantine or to let families know that there has been a positive case within the school.
Okay, thank you. Next question, are students allowed to bring in hand sanitizer?
So we will have PPE available at the schools. So our schools have, I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures that we've been showing at our board meetings. We have thousands and thousands of boxes of hand sanitizer, of the Clorox wipes, gloves, all of the PPE that will be needed. So we'll have all that available at school for students. There'll be several stations throughout schools where hand sanitizer will be available.
Okay, and will students be required to wear a medical mask, or are students allowed to wear a homemade mask or designer mask?
So we want the mask to be snug around the student's face, and we want that to be secure. We will also be providing masks for students. So if there is a mask, I know my kids like those masks that you can just like pull up, it kind of goes around your neck and you can pull it up and pull it down. Some of the masks fit snug, and some of the masks are a little too big for kids. So if it doesn't fit snug, we'll offer a student one of our masks, but we want the mask to be snug around the face, right under the eyes, and snug around the chin line.
Okay, thank you. Being that students will decrease live instruction from 5 days to 2 days a week, how will teachers balance academic learning versus social emotional learning?
So I don't know if Principal Rice is still on here. She might be able to talk about the plan for her school. I can tell you that, what we have planned from a district level and the guidance that's been in place. We definitely want to make sure that our students that are learning, when the virtual learning takes place, there is the academic rigor. Our students are continuing to progress and having the instruction that they need. So we'll do everything that we can to support students on those virtual learning days. And the social emotional support is a big part of coming back to school and coming back in person. And we have many layers in place to support students both academically and socially and emotionally. We have new procedures and new different things that we're going to be doing in the classroom, different things that we're going to be doing around the school to support that as well. And so that has been a big focus for us, and that's been a main focus. We started planning for that back in the summer and developing trainings and supports for students.
Okay, great. And then will students have the same teacher in person and hybrid? Clarifying, will classes look the same, one morning meeting versus 3 meetings throughout the day?
So will there be, I'm sorry, Lindsay, I was reading one of the chat questions here. Will they be able to keep their same teacher?
Yeah, will they have the same teacher in person and hybrid?
So you mean when they're having their virtual
Yes.
learning days?
So when they have virtual learning days and then when they're in person, are they going to have the same teacher for both of those?
Yes, so the teacher would be able to put assignments and put recorded lessons into their Google Classroom on those virtual learning days. So there could be some live instruction as well on those days. So yes, the students would have their same teachers throughout the week.
Okay. And for children who are really behind, how will we make sure they are catching up?
So we have an intense focus right now on making sure that we have a plan in place to support students, to make sure that they have the skills and the standards that are needed to continue to progress. And so we will be sharing more information about exactly, we call it an acceleration plan, exactly what that acceleration plan is going to look like. Our academic team and our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Carmen Coleman, has been working with her team to continue to develop that. We have a good framework in place, and we're just about ready to share that with the public and more about exactly what that's going to look like. And we will be sharing more in the upcoming months and upcoming weeks. And so this is going to be a different approach than anything we've ever done before. They've been doing research and taking a look at what's worked in other places. And this is going to look a little bit different, and we're going to try some new things to make sure that our students are where they need to be.
Okay. And for the high school schedule, is it different per school?
In terms of the timing, like the hours?
It sounds like they're asking about if the high school schedule time will be the same. I know Principal Rice talked about that they started a little later and going back to starting at 7:40, I think. So I think that's what we're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll go back to the traditional times that we had in person. So I know like my son's school classes started at 8 o'clock when they were starting in person before at 7:40. So we're moving back to that in-person schedule of 7:40 to 2:20, I think it is, in the afternoon.
Okay.
For middle and high school. For middle and high school.
Yeah, for middle and high. And then are lessons being recorded?
So lessons, a teacher might record the lesson at a separate time than, let's say if the teacher is teaching in person at that time. I don't anticipate that they will be recorded then, but the teacher may record lessons at another time that could be posted in students' Google Classroom. But parents can talk to their schools about exactly what their teachers are going to be doing and what that's going to look like at the school level per day. So there's a lot of options available, as we've kind of been able to see now with Google Classroom and all the things that we can do online through that, Microsoft Teams. So they'll be talking families through that process more about exactly what that will look like. But there's a lot of options for recorded learning, for instruction that will be in place in the Google Classroom as well.
Okay. And looks like we have just a couple more minutes, so we'll just do a couple more. Are they going to address the mental health issues that kids are having? What if a student thinks COVID is a joke, but other students might have lost loved ones to COVID? Will the children be given emotional support?
I mean, this is a great question because this is something that we've been thinking about a lot, and we know that we need to be there for students to help with social and emotional support. So one of the things that we have in place is a universal counseling support request form. So students and staff and families can request immediate help if there is a circumstance. A lot's happened in a year. We know the impact that COVID has had on our community. You know, we all know someone that has been impacted by COVID. So we certainly want to be there. So we are going to have immediate support available. There's going to be whole class counseling lessons that will be conducted to just help students with a variety of different things that they may be experiencing. And for our younger students, there's going to be social stories that will be available to talk about feelings and how to handle feelings and who to talk to and how to address those.
Okay, great. And how is the district going to communicate with every family to make sure they know what resources are available?
I can tell you from a district level, we send emails every day and we send resources to families. So we encourage families to please update your contact information with us. We know things change. We know that circumstances adjust throughout the course of a year. So make sure that your school has your most up-to-date contact information so we can definitely reach you. So from the district level, that's what we'll be doing. At the school level, again, I don't know if Principal Rice is still on here, our principals have been dynamic with communication. And they have found a variety of different ways to make sure they connect with families, be it virtual, text messaging, stopping by, having those front porch conversations. So our principals have been committed to that. They have been dedicated to making sure that we have that connection with our families. So we're doing everything possible to make sure that our families know about the resources available and that they utilize any supports they may need.
Okay, we'll do one last question here. Is Bus Finder updated for high school students? I was in a meeting last night. They said it wasn't updated for middle or high.
No, it's not yet because we've been adjusting the elementary routes right now. So elementary goes back next week and middle and high school begins on April 5th. So right now, if you go to Bus Finder, we actually just put a message up just yesterday, letting families know to come back and to check Bus Finder a little bit later on, and we will have the middle and high school routes on there right now. And while we're talking about Bus Finder, also good to just put a reminder out there too. If you go there and you don't see your child's elementary information there right now, like I said, we've been changing, consolidating routes. You know, we went to a hybrid plan. So we've had a couple of weeks to just make a lot of these changes that have been approved by the board. And so some of the information has not been updated into Bus Finder as of right now, but it's being continuously updated every single day. So if you go and you don't see elementary information right now, make sure you go back in a day or so. If you still don't see it, please call your bus compound. And when you go and search your address, it'll have the bus compound's information on there. And I wanted to go back to Laisha. I was trying to keep up with the comments here in the chat as well. And so I know she asked specifically if they are allowed to bring that in person. And, you know, I'm going to double check to make sure to see if there are any stipulations around that. I don't think there are, but I will double check. But I did want to make sure that our families do know that hand sanitizer will be available. So for students, they'll be available when they get on the bus, and they'll be available within our school building. So Laisha, I think I actually have your email address, and so I'll email you back that answer. I want to check that out and double check before I confirm that with you.
And Lindsay, we've had multiple questions asking about the start time for elementary, and since that's coming up, could we please answer that? Will be the same, 9:05 to 3:45.
Correct.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep, it's still the same. 9:05 to 3:45 is the start time for elementary school students. So when we go back in person, those hours will be the same. Now, for students that are learning virtually, I encourage you to check with your school to see what that schedule is going to look like and if that is going to be adjusted at all. But for the in-person schedule, that will be the same. And then Sabrina asked again too, wanted to just check in about what happens if a child is sick in a school and a parent can't come and pick them up. We've made arrangements for that. So we will work with our transportation department. And if a family member or guardian is unable to pick up the child, we will work with transportation to make sure the child is safely transported to their location where they can be, the transportation department can drop them off with an adult at the home.
And Renee, just one last thing related to that. A parent asked, she said her son had COVID in January. Does he need to get a COVID test before coming to school?
You do not have to have a negative COVID test to come back to school. We do ask that you be symptom-free for a certain period of time. And in fact, that information is on that new document that we just posted on our back to school page. I think that link is shared here in the documents. But yeah, we ask that you not have a fever within the last 24 hours and not be showing any symptoms of that. And if you have been diagnosed with COVID, you've spent the full time that a medical professional has advised you to quarantine.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all so much. So just a reminder, we are going to combine all the questions that you all had into an FAQ. So if we didn't get to your question today, we will be combining those and answering them and sharing that out. So thank you, Renee and Sarah, and thank you, parents. These questions were awesome, and hopefully you got some clarity around some of them, and then the rest of them we will share with you via the FAQ. And so now we're just going to do a quick reflection. And so we just want you to think about this. How can we be solutions oriented about supporting the return to in-person school? And so when you're thinking about that question, you might say, I used to think blank, but now I think blank and want to know blank. And then from there, who at your school might you reach out to get the information that you need? Focusing on need helps us focus on equity. Okay, and we have made it to the end of our time here. And so just some encouragement for you. Everybody has been doing their best during this time. We know this past year has been something that none of us expected, but something that you have done. And so going forward, you all can do anything and we can all do it together. We'll just go back to Principal Rice's acronym, change, adjustment, and patience. I think that those were some wonderful words of encouragement. And I think what Crystal would say, she might pop in here, but she always reminds us that we are enough and you are enough. And everything that you've done is enough. So just continue with that mantra and move forward and know that you've got this, that we've got this, and we're all in this together. So let us know if you have any questions. You can click on this link or QR code. So you can just take your phone right now, take a picture of that QR code, and it'll send you right to the Google form to give us your feedback. Do you want to be notified of the next PAC meeting? What future topics do you want to discuss? Go to that form and you can share that information with us. We would love your feedback so it can help us inform our future meetings. Okay, so our next PAC meetings are Monday, April 12th and Friday, April 16th. April 12th and Monday will be our evening meeting. And then our Friday meeting is at the same time here. Same Zoom link for all PAC meetings, so you can use the link you used today, attend only one meeting, and our topic is going to be summer learning. And so you heard about a little bit from Renee about the summer learning, and hopefully we'll have more information at that time. And then also there is a Kentucky Family Engagement Summit, April 15th to 16th, 9 a.m. to 12:30 and 3 to 4. It's virtual, so you can go to that link there to register if you're interested in participating in that Family Engagement Summit. Follow us on social media. You can on Facebook at JCPS Family Engage, at Families Learning, and then follow us on Twitter. There's the handle there. And don't forget to use hashtag FamilyJCPS when you share family events and resources on Twitter. That is it. So thank you all so much for being here today. We truly appreciate you spending your Friday morning with us. We hope that you got some of your back to school questions answered. Again, we will share out that FAQ with the other information that we didn't get to. And I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. And hopefully we'll see you next time.